The United Kingdom is an exceptionally unique country. As the former British Empire, it has made remarkable contributions to science, culture, law, and many other areas around the world. However, when it comes to weather and food, the story seems entirely different. So, what kind of country is the UK really? Hello everyone. In this episode, we'll take a comprehensive look at the United Kingdom. Around 700 BCE, the Celts arrived on the island of Britain. One group became known as the Britons, and it is from them that the name Britain originates. From 43 CE until the early 5th century, the Roman Empire invaded and ruled Britain for nearly 4 centuries, bringing cities, roads, infrastructure, and cultural development. After the Romans withdrew in the early 5th century, Germanic tribes, including the Angles and Saxons, invaded Britain and established numerous kingdoms. This region came to be known as Angleland, which later evolved into England. At this point, Britain was divided into 3 main areas. The north was controlled by the Celts, corresponding to modern-day Scotland. The south was dominated by the Anglo-Saxons, corresponding to modern-day England. The west, largely populated by Celts, who had been pushed out by the Anglo-Saxons, became modern-day Wales. By the 7th century, the numerous kingdoms in England had consolidated into 7 major powers, a period known as the Heptarchy. In the 9th century, Vikings began invading Britain. Alfred the Great of Wessex rose to lead the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms in defending against Viking invasions. In 1066, William, Duke of Normandy, known as William the Conqueror, invaded England, becoming King William I, and establishing the first Norman monarchy. From the Norman period onward, the royal family frequently had foreign ancestry, leading to complex bloodlines. Monarchs could choose their regnal names quite freely. For instance, the current monarch, Charles III, could have chosen any of his given names: Charles, Philip, Arthur, or George as his royal name, and he chose Charles III. Incidentally, it had been 337 years since the last kings named Charles I, and Charles II, whom history textbooks commonly reference. Let's focus only on key figures, rather than tracing all family relations. In 1154, Henry II ascended the throne, starting the Plantagenet dynasty. His son, Richard I, known as Richard the Lionheart, became famous for his role in the Third Crusade. In 1199, his brother John became king. His reign was marked by military failures, leading to the signing of the Magna Carta, which laid the foundation for Britain's constitutional development. In 1272, Edward I became king. He conducted military campaigns to conquer Wales and subdue Scotland. During his reign, the early framework of the English Parliament began to take shape. Due to disputes over territories and succession, England and France entered the 100 Years' War in 1337, which lasted intermittently for 116 years. Ultimately, England lost nearly all its territories in continental Europe, while France moved toward national unification. In 1399, Henry IV, Duke of Lancaster, seized the throne, ending the Plantagenet rule and establishing the Lancastrian dynasty. Subsequently, the Lancasters and the Yorks frequently fought civil wars, known as the Wars of the Roses, named after their family emblems, red and white roses. Sports fans might recognize the Roses Derby. In the English Premier League, the rivalry between Manchester United and Leeds United as a symbolic continuation of the 500-year-old conflict. The team's red and white jerseys echo the colors of the historical roses. In 1485, Henry VII ended the Wars of the Roses and founded the Tudor dynasty. In 1536, England and Wales were formally united under the Laws in Wales Acts. In 1553, Mary I became the first queen to rule England in her own right, earning the notorious nickname Bloody Mary due to her persecution of Protestants. Her sister, Elizabeth I, succeeded her, ushering in a golden age of English history. In 1588, the explorer Sir Francis Drake defeated the Spanish Armada, marking the beginning of England's rise as a naval power. During this period, England established its first colonies in North America, and the enclosure movement, overseas plunder, and trade became key drivers of capital accumulation. This era also saw literary giants like Shakespeare and Francis Bacon. Elizabeth I never married, aiming to maintain political stability. Upon her death, the closest heir in terms of bloodline was James V of Scotland, who became James I of England, starting the Stuart dynasty. He was the first monarch to rule over the entire island of Great Britain. As trade expanded, tensions between Parliament and the monarchy escalated, culminating in the English Civil War in 1642. In 1649, Charles I was publicly executed, becoming the first European monarch to be executed in such a manner. Oliver Cromwell established the English Commonwealth. In 1660, the monarchy was restored, ending the Republican experiment. In 1688, the Glorious Revolution occurred. William III and his wife, Mary II, became co-monarchs, signing the Bill of Rights in 1689, establishing Parliament as the supreme governing body. England became the world's first constitutional monarchy. In 1707, England, Wales, and Scotland formally united as the Kingdom of Great Britain. In 1714, George I ascended, founding the Hanoverian dynasty. In 1801, the union with Ireland created the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Queen Victoria's reign, 1837–1901, marked the peak of British influence, known as the Victorian era. During this period, the Industrial Revolution transformed the UK into the world's first industrialized nation and spurred massive colonial expansion. By the early 20th century, the British Empire had become the largest in history, covering a quarter of the world's land area, earning the nickname the Empire on which the sun never sets. After Victoria's death, Edward VII ascended, and due to World War I, the German-linked House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha was renamed the House of Windsor, which remains today. In 1922, the Irish Free State gained independence, leaving Northern Ireland within the UK, which was renamed the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Queen Elizabeth II ascended in 1952, reigning for 70 years until her death in 2022, the longest reign in British history. Charles II then became king. While the monarchy now holds far less political power, it remains an important cultural symbol, carrying rich history and tradition. Modern United Kingdom overview. The UK's full name is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It covers roughly 245,000 square kilometers, with a population of about 68 million. Its territory includes England, Scotland, and Wales on the island of Great Britain, and Northern Ireland on the island of Ireland, along with surrounding islands. The UK also has 14 overseas territories and 3 crown dependencies. The British Antarctic Territory in Antarctica is not universally recognized due to the Antarctic Treaty. Most other territories are small islands across the world, such as Bermuda in the North Atlantic, the Cayman Islands in the Caribbean, and the Falkland Islands in the South Atlantic. St. Helena, 900 kilometers off Africa's west coast, famously held Napoleon in exile. Gibraltar, at the southern tip of the Iberian Peninsula, is strategically important, guarding the passage between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Crown dependencies include the Isle of Man in the Irish Sea and the Channel Islands of Guernsey and Jersey. They are not part of the UK, but are self-governing possessions of the Crown with their own legislatures and currencies. Due to centuries of colonial rule, even after many colonies gained independence, British influence remains strong in religion, law, culture, and language. This legacy led to the modern Commonwealth, now comprising 56 member countries. 15 are Commonwealth realms sharing the British monarch. 5 are independent monarchies with their own sovereigns. The remaining 36 are republics. The UK itself is an island nation with a long coastline and rich marine resources. It borders the North Sea to the east and the Atlantic Ocean to the west. The English Channel separates it from France by only 33 kilometers. The terrain slopes from highlands in the north to lowlands in the south. Scotland boasts dramatic landscapes with deep valleys formed by geological faults. From Inverness, travelers pass the famous Loch Ness to Fort William. Nearby, the Glenfinnan Viaduct featured in the Hogwarts Express scene stands as a symbol of the Scottish Highlands. Ben Nevis, the highest peak in Britain, towers nearby, amid castles and ruins echoing Scotland's turbulent history. England's south is flatter, with rivers and industrialized cities tracing the economic heartbeat of the region. Wales is more rustic, with rolling mountains, quaint towns, and medieval castles reflecting its rich history. Across the sea lies Northern Ireland, with distinct political and religious identities. Its landscapes from the Sperrin Mountains to the Giant's Causeway are steeped in myth and legend, reminiscent of a fantasy world. British cuisine. When people think of British food, fish and chips often comes to mind, or perhaps a look up at the stars pie. Former French President Jacques Chirac once famously said, "British food was the worst in the world after Finnish cuisine." A century ago, Chinese poet Su Jimhua also commented that the best food in Britain was foreign food. Some even joked that the two thinnest books in the world are American history and British cookbooks.
本音频由魔音工坊 AI 生成。
Historically, British cuisine was far from boring. In the Middle Ages, the livestock industry provided high-quality meat, and Norman conquests brought rare European ingredients and spices. Medieval British cookbooks record tables full of pastries, meats, seafood, fruits, and spices. However, over time, the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century led to urban migration. Dietary habits became industrialized. Home-cooked meals gave way to mass-produced foods for convenience. Fish and chips, sandwiches, and canned foods emerged as affordable, portable staples for workers. During World War II, German naval blockades caused severe food shortages, enforcing rationing for 13 years, which devastated culinary traditions. Today, globalization has brought a wide variety of international cuisines, making it difficult for a distinct British culinary identity to develop. Yet traditional British dishes remain, such as the full English breakfast, afternoon tea, Sunday roast, and regional specialties. Full English breakfast, originating in Scotland, it includes bacon, sausages, eggs, tomatoes, mushrooms, toast, baked beans, hash browns, and black pudding, a blood sausage made from pig's blood, oats, flour, fat, and onions. Afternoon tea, a Victorian-era, upper-class custom, emphasizing elegance and leisure. Teas include Darjeeling, Ceylon, and Earl Grey. The accompanying food, stacked in 3 tiers, includes sandwiches, scones, cakes, and fruit, even from savory to sweet. Potatoes, introduced in the Middle Ages, they thrived in Britain's climate and became a staple, especially during wartime. Sunday roast, a traditional weekend family meal with roasted meat, potatoes, vegetables, and Yorkshire pudding, a puffed pastry made from eggs, flour, and milk. Curry, despite being associated with India, curry as a dish developed in Britain. Colonial influence introduced British soldiers and officials to Indian spices, which were then adapted into dishes like chicken curry, later spreading globally. Scottish cuisine includes haggis, a savory pudding made from sheep's offal, oats, and spices, traditionally served with mashed potatoes and whiskey. Beef Wellington, named after the Duke of Wellington, created to celebrate his victory at Waterloo. It consists of a fillet steak coated with mushroomed excels and tay, wrapped in puff pastry and baked to golden perfection. British culture. With Britain's rise in the 18th century and colonial expansion, British culture spread worldwide, leaving lasting influence in language, literature, law, and sports. 1776, James Watt improves the steam engine. 1830, George Stephenson builds the first passenger and freight railway. These innovations transformed cities, resource use, and cultural exchange, marking pivotal moments in human history. By the way, even though the railway era made the UK an undeniable global powerhouse, with the arrival of the high-speed rail era, Britain has fallen behind the times. The UK currently has only half a high-speed rail line, High Speed 1, completed in 2007, better known as the route for the Eurostar train. It's called half a high-speed line because it's a joint project between the UK and France, running under the English Channel to connect Britain with mainland Europe. In 2009, the UK announced plans to build a second high-speed rail line running across the country. However, due to budget issues, environmental approvals, and other hurdles, the project was repeatedly delayed. Construction officially began in September 2020, with the line expected to be fully operational by 2040. The world's first subway opened in 1863, the London Metropolitan Railway. At the time, a British lawyer proposed the idea of trains running underground to solve congestion. Since electricity wasn't widely available yet, steam locomotives were used, and workers had to drill ventilation shafts to avoid being poisoned by smoke. Over 150 years later, the system has continued to evolve and remains in operation, becoming a unique symbol of London and Britain. Being an island nation, Britain relies heavily on air travel for international connections. London alone has 6 airports in the Orkney Islands, northern Scotland. There's even the world's shortest flight route from Westray to Papa Westray. The 2 airports are just 7 kilometers apart, and the flight takes only 57 seconds. This route opened in 1967, originally to help children get to school, and later became famous for being the shortest flight in the world, boosting local tourism in the process. The United Kingdom consists of 4 countries, which is reflected in its flag, excluding Wales, which joined earlier. The UK flag is actually a combination of the flags of England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. A national anthem is typically a symbol of a country, while Germany has the Deutschlandlied and France has La Marseillaise. The UK does not have an official national anthem. God Save the Queen, Now God Save the King, after Charles II's ascension, is a representative song rather than a formal anthem. The coronation of King Charles also led to updates on currency and stamps. In September 2022, the Bank of England announced that banknotes featuring King Charles II would enter circulation in the first half of 2024. Britain is also the birthplace of modern postal services. The world's first postage stamp, the penny black, was issued in 1840. The Royal Mail, founded by King Henry VIII in 1516, became a household name, with the iconic red pillar boxes still seen throughout the UK. The Royal Mail later expanded into telecommunications, giving rise to the classic red telephone booths. The British love for red doesn't stop there. Classic London double-decker buses and the Queen's Guard uniforms are red as well. The first red London bus appeared in 1933 when buses were privatized. Other colors appeared, but public opposition led the government in 1990 to mandate that all London buses must have red as the primary color, a tradition that continues today. The iconic red uniform and tall black burskin hats of the Queen's Guard have their origins in 1645. Oliver Cromwell's army wore red uniforms to distinguish themselves from the King's forces, which wore white, known as the Redcoats. They famously defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815 and adopted the burskin hats from French units, establishing the style that continues today. British literature is a shining gem in world literature, spanning multiple eras and producing countless classics. The Renaissance saw the rise of literary giants like Shakespeare and Francis Bacon. By the mid-18th century, influential novelists emerged, giving us vivid characters in works like Robinson Crusoe, Gulliver's Travels, and Tom Jones. During the Victorian era, Charles Dickens rose to prominence with works like Oliver Twist and Great Expectations, highlighting social injustices and poverty. The Bronte sisters showcased female independence and resilience in Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre. By the late 19th century, Arthur Conan Doyle created the highly intelligent and distinctive detective Sherlock Holmes. Contemporary literature also shines, with J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series creating a rich magical world beloved by millions worldwide. Since the 17th century, Britain has been a leading center for scientific development. It has produced brilliant minds whose discoveries changed the world. Newton's law of universal gravitation, Darwin's theory of evolution, Faraday's electric motor, Maxwell's equations in electromagnetism, and Stephen Hawking's theories on the quantum universe all hallmark contributions to science. Britain is a traditional sports powerhouse. Football, rugby, tennis, golf, table tennis, badminton, water polo, and field hockey all originated here. London was the first city to host the Summer Olympics 3 times. Britons love talking about two things above all, the weather and football. The UK is not only the birthplace of modern football, but also home to the world's first football clubs. Unlike Argentina, it doesn't produce global superstars like Maradona or Messi, yet it hosts the most successful football league in the world, Premier League, with a professional environment and huge commercial value. Football culture in the UK is intense, and yes, hooliganism has been part of it. For example, during Euro 2016, clashes between England and Russian fans left 2,000 English fans beaten by 200 Russian fans, prompting an incredulous response from Vladimir Putin. In international football, there's no single UK national team. Instead, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland each have their own. FIFA recognizes football associations, not countries, which is why the UK's for associations were instrumental in forming FIFA and drafting the original rules of football. Some overseas territories, like Gibraltar, also have associations that participate in international competitions, including the World Cup. Let's explore some British cities. London, Europe's largest city and a global financial hub, blends deep history with modern cosmopolitan life. Along the Thames, you first see Tower Bridge, A distinctive London landmark nearby is the historic Tower of London, built in 1066, which has served as a fortress, treasury, mint, execution site, and prison, and is now a Northeast World Heritage Site. Heading west along the river, you reach the modern Shard, the tallest building in the UK, standing in contrast to the historic City of London skyline. Further along is the London Eye, offering excellent views of the Thames. Across from it is Big Ben, and the Houses of Parliament. Westminster Palace, a stunning example of Gothic Revival architecture, reflecting Britain's long political history. Strolling past St. James's Park, you reach Buckingham Palace, blending historical and modern charm. The daily changing of the guard ceremony remains a quintessential royal spectacle. About 300 kilometers from London lies Manchester, a city pivotal to the Industrial Revolution. In the 18th century, it transformed from rural farmland into the world's first industrial city, with the first passenger railway and numerous textile factories. Attracting a massive workforce, Manchester became a hub for labor movements, shaping global social change. Today, it is also famous for football, housing to top-tier clubs, drawing visitors worldwide. Edinburgh, Scotland's capital, is equally rich in history and culture. Its most famous landmark, Edinburgh Castle, sits atop a volcanic hill, and once served as the royal residence of Scottish kings. Princess Street divides the city into the New Town to the north, with upscale shops and restaurants, and the Old Town to the south, with historic streets and architecture. Since 1947, the Edinburgh International Festival has attracted countless artists and performers. The city's rich history, cultural life, scenic beauty, and artistic atmosphere make it a city that blends tradition with modernity. This is the UK, the pioneer of constitutional monarchy, a leader in the Industrial Revolution, a country with a glorious past and pressed vitality, continuing to shine in its unique way. Next episode, we'll explore India,